I have not met Dr. Gaur as of yet. We have only met through the Zoom session a few weeks ago as of yet. I'm looking forward to meeting him in person. With the Zoom session, when we had a few weeks ago, there was maybe 12 to 13 of us on the session, and I was very aware when he got to me. I felt his presence in my fields. I felt it working through the different energies within me. Felt a very subtle state of liberation. Really just felt my mind kind of dissolve. All bits of me, all worries, all egoic desires kind of just dissolve into the absolute for a little while, and got that taste of existential bliss, shall we say. So sought after these days. Not at one moment did I feel scared or apprehensive during my sessions with Dr. Gaur. He has a very gentle way of working and a very personable and just a very loving smile that is immediately disarming. If anyone is on this path of spiritual emergence and is looking to get a glimpse of what there is to attain and to get a glimpse of our true nature of Satchidananda, I would absolutely recommend seeing Dr. Gaur or attending one of his Zoom sessions. I was surprised. At first I was a bit apprehensive about doing a Shaktipat session via internet, and I was pleasantly surprised when the experience was extremely similar to those I've received in person through other teachings. I have seen some of Dr. Gaur's videos online from India, and as you can tell, the crowds or the experiences seem a bit dramatic or dynamic, shall we say. I would not say I'm confronted by these at all, as it is a different vibe in India than it is here. These are people who have grown up with this paradigm as their life, and it is very deeply ingrained within them. So the experience can be quite large for someone who has already been doing that work or already has that energy moving in certain ways and is already really cemented into their life. The videos I've seen of Shaktipat sessions happening with Dr. Gaur, especially in India, you can see some very dramatic responses. But these responses are very similar, in my opinion, to those who are having full samadhi experiences, whether a Kundalini awakening or a plant medicine session. And the best thing about these sessions with Dr. Gaur is a plant medicine session can take a lot out of you, and you're adding something to yourself. With this Shaktipat, it is simply student and master, divine transmission of that divine energy, so extremely safe. I've received Shaktipat 2 other times from different lineage, both from Siddha Yoga tradition, Baba Bhugnananda's lineage, and I found this experience with Dr. Gaur very similar. It's that energy, and it's a universal energy, and it's not particular to one person, and Dr. Gaur definitely taps into that divine source. There is no time like the present to take advantage of Dr. Gaur being in the US. This is something that we quite commonly have to travel to India and to other far places to receive, and it is a blessing that we were able to receive Dr. Gaur here in the Western United States and not have to travel so far. So I found myself on the path of yoga through trials and tribulations. Yoga found me at just the perfect time. Through my adolescence, I really put myself through it, got very hard into drugs and general knuckleheadedry, and found myself in trouble with the law, incarcerated quite a few times, and then kind of just went around in limbo for a few years. And it was a book that inspired me to change my life or to start taking control of my life. I had a very spiritual upbringing. I was taught to meditate at a very young age, but I chose to push those lessons aside and learn my own lessons for a little while. Yoga found me at just the perfect time, and at that time I was just simply ready to receive. I was dry wood to be ignited, and gobbled up the teachings as quickly as I could. Found myself in practice of asana and meditation first, and then began to explore pranayama, and then really got into yama, niyama, and all the other limbs of this beautiful practice. And then my journey found me traveling all over the world. Soon became certified to teach yoga and started teaching what I knew. And bounced from country to country, lived in India for a while, moved to Australia, opened up a yoga studio, moved back to the Caribbean, taught lots, taught everything I could. And hungry to learn more, came back to the United States, did my advanced teaching in Los Angeles, and then moved down to Miami and really kept the yoga and plant medicine practice going very strong. I would say what yoga really did for me was, because it is such a wonderful practice of self-inquiry, it allowed me to go within and see why I had put myself through all the trouble that I did in my younger days. It allowed me to begin to understand the different emotional patterns that I had, and it allowed me to begin to release them, understanding that they no longer served me. understanding that these emotional patterns may have served a purpose at one time in my life and were there to protect me, and I'd set them up subconsciously. But now they were merely holding me back, and these were just patterning some scars, playing out their own role. So this practice just helped me release these different patternings and begin to release some scars, clearing up karmas, and hollowing my vessel as best as I can. And as with everyone's spiritual exploration and spiritual journey can be a roller coaster. Ups and downs, we find ourselves immersed in our practice at times, to find ourselves straying a little far from ideals in our practices at times. And just as I was really feeling the need to recommit myself to my practice and really feeling the need to dive a little deeper and in fact find a new teacher, as I had been without teacher for years and have just been emptying my cup teaching, and I felt that as I explored new planes of consciousness, it was time for me to begin learning from those wiser from me again. And just as I began searching, Dr. Gaur appeared out of nowhere. And just feeling very, very blessed to begin to work with him. And my first session on Zoom was just pure existential bliss. And we're hosting him on Saturday the 29th, and I am absolutely excited. In my experience, there are many spiritual teachers from all over the world, some from India, some from the Amazon, who will come claiming abilities and claim to be able to heal you and simply be raking in the money. It's a very particular type of person who will hold themselves as a healer or present themselves as a healer, except have such ill intentions. You can tell immediately upon talking to Dr. Gaur or meeting Dr. Gaur, he is not of this essence. Dr. Gaur is of a light and integrity. And none of my red alerts were set off in my interactions with Dr. Gaur. Thus far, I have learned from Dr. Gaur to surrender even deeper. The deeper we get in our quest of consciousness and our search for our own existence, the ego can pop in, and our true nature is of a nature that is indescribable. It is the ineffable. It is that which cannot be described, and the ego can attempt to categorize it and can attempt to creep in and assert its own dominance. And Dr. Gaur has helped me even further surrender to this and understand and not hold the ego hostage, but simply make the ego my ally and help the ego understand that we are in this together and that I am not a human being having this experience without the ego, and the ego has no job without this awareness. So Dr. Gaur has definitely helped me further navigate this plane. So, Acharya. Acharya simply means teacher in my understanding. And Dr. Gaur is certainly that. When it comes to the word guru, many of his followers do call him Guruji in affection. Myself, I have no issues with calling him Guruji. Guru, gu and ru, meaning from darkness to light, simply means he or she, which helps guide one from darkness to light. And that is Dr. Gaur's mission on this planet. That is what he is traveling around from country to country doing, is assisting people on their journey home, their journey back to the light. So a guru is a term that gets used and taken a bit out of whack. And there's a lot of stigma attached to it because there were many who claimed to be gurus who came with ill purpose. However, Dr. Gaur is just that. He is that which brings us from darkness to light or assists us in our journey. When it comes to trust and surrendering one's control to another individual, this can be our greatest challenge as humans in general in giving up control. The ego loves to tell us that we're in control of everything. Only through our spiritual journey do we begin to realize that we are, in a sense, not in control, except we have a say. We have a say in our daily comings and goings. So it can be a little difficult for us to relinquish control to an individual, such as a teacher, especially one who is outside of our comfort zone, shall we say, for many people who are not comfortable with the yogic or Hindu background or feel or vibe. Relinquishing control is a beautiful practice in of itself. And in such act, you are not giving anything up to Dr. Gaur. You are not letting him take anything away from you. You are simply allowing his light to enter that of yours. And after this happens, we realize that it is the same light. Dr. Gaur has no intention of going in and rearranging or mind control or making followers. Dr. Gaur is simply allowing us to heal ourselves. He is giving us the tools that we need to heal ourselves. A Shaktipat is giving us a glimpse, a taste of our true potential, and it allows us to have something to work towards. So simply by surrendering and letting go and allowing someone to really get in there and do that work first takes an understanding of knowing that that person's light is a reflection of your own light, and understanding that and coming to terms, and then knowing that he is not taking anything from you and he is not controlling you. He is merely allowing your body and your mind and your spirit to do what it was brought here to do. So some people who, especially people who are very faithful in the Christian traditions and Catholic traditions or Muslim traditions, can hold attachment and feel that by stepping outside that faith into a practice such as this, which can be lumped in with yogic practice or even Hindu practice, they can feel that they're stepping away from their religion or faith. One thing I must say is we were given yoga by India. Yoga was India's gift to the West. And yoga comes without attachment to religion, without attachment to faith. Yoga is a practice of self-inquiry. Dr. Gaur, his practice is non-denominational. Just as Yogananda said to the world and just shared his love for Jesus. Because all of these teachings from all of the religions, they all hold the same basic underlying message of love and unity. And Dr. Gaur is approaching us not from a Hindu stance, not from a yogic stance, but simply from a Unitarian love stance. This is something that is open to people from all denominations and all faiths, as this is merely the energy of life. This does not pull us away from our faith, does not pull us away from our own practices. It merely assists us in our movement forwards in spiritual progression. So Dr. Gaur is not established or carrying himself as a representative of any particular religion. Dr. Gaur is coming at this from a Unitarian view and merely spreading that love of the world. Many people of faith, such as Christian and Catholic and even Muslim, can worry that they're stepping outside of their faith or stepping outside of their practice by engaging in an activity such as this. But by doing this, you are not stepping outside of your faith. You are merely aiding your spirit in its own journey to do what it needs to do. So the wonderful thing about Dr. Gaur's work is it comes with no attachments. Simply by receiving Shaktipat from Dr. Gaur does not mean you are committed into a forever relationship or anything like that. This is, again, without attachment. You possess your own free will and are free to exercise as so. If you experience a session with Dr. Gaur and it's not your thing, that is perfectly beautiful. That's one of the things I really appreciated about Dr. Gaur's work, is I did not feel pressured to become a student or to become a disciple of his simply by receiving Shaktipat or beginning to engage with him on spiritual counseling. In my opinion, Shaktipat is something that is for all ages. I'm in my mid-30s and I've received it in my mid-20s as well. This is something that I would love for the older members of my family to engage in. I would love for my mother to receive this, my father. I would love for my grandparents to receive this. I wouldn't say there's a cutoff age point for this. In my opinion, Shaktipat as a form of therapy can be very effective because one of the main reasons that many of us find ourselves in therapy or in need of therapy is because our own emotional patterning, our own experiences, our own subconscious bubbling up to the surface, creating in patterning that ends up in our behavior. With Shaktipat, one of the beautiful things is it really helps us begin to clear out those samskaras and it helps hollow us out. And when we begin to detach from our identification with our own ego or our own personification or our own projection of our assumed identity, we begin to get a little more of the big picture. And once we get a little more of the big picture, we realize that we are much more than our minds. We are much more than our ego. We are much more than our attachments and our desires and our wants and our worries. We are, in fact, everything. And with this realization of totality, of our true nature, of Sat Chidananda, truth, consciousness, and bliss, our minuscule issues begin to seem just that, minuscule. And for me personally, it has really helped just clear out a lot of the worries and anxieties, existential crisis, shall we say. Fear of death is no longer an issue that I have in my life. In my opinion, Western psychological therapy can only take us so far because it is acting or it is not in possession of certain understandings and is not taking into account the totality of our nature. It is only working on small parts of us at one time and not working as if the whole body, mind, and spirit is one system. So to really get beyond certain blockages and to really get as far as we need to with our therapeutic practices, one needs to experience spiritual emergence of sorts. If you are at all interested in exploring the deeper states of your consciousness, if spiritual emergence is something that has been calling out to you, if you are feeling like there is more to life than our daily experience, I highly recommend receiving Shaktipat from Dr. Gaur. It is just a beautiful step, a beautiful awakening to taking full charge of this existence and being a spiritual being on earth, having a human experience. So myself, I am lucky enough to see Dr. Gaur next week, and I'm very excited for that, to meet him in person. However, I understand it's not practical for people all around the world to be able to have one-on-one access to him when they need. Luckily, there is phone, there is email, there are these Zoom Shaktipat sessions. I had my own reservations about receiving Shaktipat online. What we have to understand is that this is the ineffable. This is that which transcends the physical. And I understand that wireless internet is not a blockage for this energy, and there is no blockage for this energy. These online sessions on Zoom, Shaktipat, have just been absolutely beautiful. It's a wonderful community on there, and we're all in this together, and you really feel that feeling of family, and you really feel Dr. Gaur's love from there, and it's just a beautiful thing to behold. I highly recommend for anyone looking to enter this path, or anyone who is on this path looking to further their experience, I highly recommend this. I understand there's a lot of fear around Shaktipat, and I know there was a lot of people claiming to be those who they weren't, offering Shaktipat and taking large sums of money. Shaktipat is energetic maintenance. Shaktipat is like getting a massage for the soul. It is like getting a tune-up for the spirit. It is like having the vehicle of your soul washed, cleaned, and shined brightly. You do not have to be special, different, or at a certain level on your path to receive Shaktipat. Shaktipat is something that is for individuals of all types of ages, practices, mindsets, beliefs. Shaktipat is something that is accessible for anyone who is trying to better themselves and move themselves forward in a direction of integrity. Dr. Gaur, I have much gratitude for you and everything you are doing. I am looking forward to meeting you in person and receiving this energy from you. I have so much love and gratitude for you, and my family looks forward to meeting you as well. Namaskar, namaste. Beautiful.